And that's of course the kind of work that we do with my foundation, the Dolores Huerta Foundation, is because we go into the communities and we organize people to take on the issues that they have in their community. Some of them might be infrastructure, because they don't have a park, they don't have a community park, they don't have a swimming pool, they don't have, they have to use septic tanks because they're not connected to the sewers. We have one of our communities, they do not have a gymnasium. And down there in Bakersfield, which by the way is where they produce a lot of oil, you know, and so our air is very polluted with pesticides and dust and everything. And in one of our middle schools, the kids could not go out to play because the air quality was so bad, so that they never had a chance to go out for recess or do any games outdoors. We organized the parents. They went door to door. They passed a petition. They got a bond issue passed. Now they have a state-of-the-art gymnasium for the middle school kids. And the main thing is that they knew they did it themselves. And one of their leaders, who was a Mexican immigrant, who spoke very little English, she got so strengthened by the project that they did that she ran for the school board. And she the school wanted to end the breakfast program for the farm worker kids, you know, and so they got rid of the principal and they kept the program. She made them translate everything into Spanish. She could understand English, but again, you know, she wanted to make sure that the people could understand. So then she started investigating the books of the water board and found out there was $250,000 missing. So she called in the grand jury. And of course, they did that investigation to find out who took the $250,000. Before that, they had the manager of the water board and found out that he had actually stolen money from another water board. And so she got rid of him too, okay? What our organizing is all about is making sure that the people take power. In Bakersfield, California, unfortunately, we have, it's kind of like, we call it like Bakersfield, Alabama. Because there is a lot of racism in Bakersfield. We had to sue our current high school district because they expelled 2,500 students of color in 1 year. In 1 year. So we won our lawsuit, and from those 2,500 expulsions, the last number of expulsions that they had was 21. To stop the school to prison pipeline because there are so many young people of color in the prison system. And just to give you an example of how bad it is, and many of you may know, again, I'm talking about the Central Valley, California. From Bakersfield, California to Sacramento, they have built 22 prisons. 22 prisons, one university. And who's in the prison is mostly young people of color and pro-black kids too. They come from poor families. Those are the people that are in prison. And so, you know, we've got to say these are tax dollars, and we need to use that money for education and stop the school to prison pipeline. And so that's one of the things that we're dedicating ourselves to. But we do this all by organizing the parents and organizing the students from the different school districts. We are active in 17 different school districts, covering about 200 schools. And we organize the parents, and they give the recommendations to the school district, and over 40% of the recommendations have been accepted. So, and again, this is giving the power to the parent, giving the power to the student, and then encouraging them and others to run for school boards. And I just want to say this about education, because when we think of what's going on in our country today, and it's worrisome, because we are very close to losing our democracy in the United States of America. And we have seen how scary that looks with what happened on January 6th in Washington, D.C. And so we think, where is all this hatred coming from? This hatred against people of color, this hatred against women, this hatred against our LGBTQ community, this hatred against people that might be transgender. We know it's coming from ignorance, right? And so the only way that we can stem that ignorance is to start in our elementary school level, start teaching little children that and this is what I shared with the high school today, and teaching them that we are one human race, okay? We only have one human race. And today, when I asked the kids at the high school, they knew the answer. And maybe I can ask all of you, what is the scientific name of our human race?
Homo sapiens.
Homo sapiens, yes, Homo sapiens. And we know that our human race started where? Somebody shout it out.
Africa.
Africa. Our human race started in Africa. And as our human race traveled across the planet, the high school kids heard this earlier, as our human race traveled across the planet, people lost the color of their skin. They had got lighter skin, lighter eyes, lighter hair. And now some may have to go back to the tanning salon or to the beach to get the color back. This is something that we can teach in elementary school. Then we can get rid of that notion of white supremacy and white privilege. So we can say to all of the Nazis out there, get over it, you're Africans, okay? Enough already. And people, when you do your DNA, actually they did my DNA, and I thought I was like maybe 60% European and 40% indigenous. But no, when it came back, I was 65% European and 35% indigenous. And so I asked them, I said, well, did my African come out? They said, yes, that was 0.003 African. But then he said, but you know what? You're 0.005 Neanderthal. And I go to the European side, as you know. So I think this is something that we have to really teach all of our young children so that they will know that we are one human race. And we should never use the word race unless it's attached to the word human. Otherwise, it's okay? A lot of ethnic groups, a lot of nationalities, a lot of cultures, but only one human race. And I'm going to ask you to do what I asked the students to do today. Take the hand of the person next to you. Turn to that person and say, hello, relative.
Hello, relative. Hello, relative. Hello. Órale, primo. Órale, prima. Ahí está.
In my Shoshone tribe, this is what Native people do, right? This is what they do. They say to you, they say, hello, relative. Because our Native American, when we think of the culture of Native Americans, their culture is the culture that we have to follow. The culture of caring for the earth, right? The culture of seeing the next person as a relative. And if we can promote that, then we know that we will create that just society that we all wish for. And today when I spoke to the high school students, I gave them an assignment, okay? And I'm going to give you an assignment also. and this is what my concern is. Today I saw what I thought at the elementary school and at the high school, and the spirit that was there of the young people. That you can see that they really want a just society. But no, we're not going to be able to get there unless we can really elect the people to office that we need. In Bakersfield, our leader there is Kevin McCarthy. I think you all know his name. He's the leader of the Republicans in the House of Representatives. But so we have to think of the things that we need. And I'm thinking of the things that are stuck in the U.S. Senate right now. What is stuck there? Equal rights amendment for women. Do you all women know that we do not have equal rights in the law? As part of our Constitution? We do not have that. And the United States is one of the only few countries in the world that has not ratified the Equal Rights Amendment, which would be the 19th Amendment to our Constitution. It's in the Senate right now, the U.S. Senate. What else is in the U.S. Senate? Okay, we have the right, the ability to give our farm workers out there who are undocumented, to give them the legal residency in this country.
Yep.
And some people say, well, why should we give them legal residency? The policy of the United States of America from day one, all of the immigrants from Europe, okay, that came to the United States of America, they were given legal status and citizenship. So this is not something new that we're asking for. This is something that has always been. And so people should not object to that when we say we want to give people residency in the United States of America. What else is stuck in the Senate? 2 years of free college, 2 years of free community college for everyone. The fact that we could have universal daycare for all the families that we need. We know we need women's voices, we need women representation, but it's very, very hard for women if they do not have someone to take care of their children and to educate their children. These are all these things that are stuck in the Senate. The money that we need to combat global warming, stuck in the Senate. So the only way that we're going to get a kind of a social, and I'm going to use the word economic justice also that we need, is to elect people for our representation that will vote on those measures, okay? So my assignment to all of you is, we know we have an election year this year, to get busy and make sure that we get people registered to vote, make sure that they vote, make sure that we elect people that are going to help us. And I heard that there was a bill here in Idaho against transgender youth. Can you imagine that? I mean, attacking the most vulnerable people in our community. That is pretty sick. That is pretty sick. So we've got to stop that. Now we know that some people are not enlightened yet. And I want to share some words with you, so your friends and people that you know, sometimes family members, yes, family members, they're not quite there yet, you know. They're kind of in the dark still. And I share this saying by one of the great presidents of Mexico. His name was Benito Juarez.
Yes.
The first Latinos here know who he is. And he was the first indigenous president after they got independence from Spain. And he had a great saying that I want to share with you, and hopefully you can repeat this. And his saying was, el respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz. That means respecting other people's rights is peace, okay? If someone decides, or they love someone of their own sex, and they want to marry that person, or live with that person, it's their business, not anybody else's. I have to respect that. Mother of 11 children. Yes. I decided to have 11 children because I love children. But my daughter, a former teacher, decides she wants to have dogs and cats instead. I have to respect her rights. I just remember that. So all those people that are, you know, the so-called pro-lifers, and I say so-called pro-lifers because all they're thinking about is the fetus, right? They're not thinking about children after they're born and should somebody take care of them and educate them. No, it's all very, very political. Yeah. So a woman, and all the women here know this, I know this, but I'll kind of repeat it. That a woman, excuse me, a woman is the only one that can decide what to do with her body, right? And as long as people can keep fighting each other, then the people that have the willpower, that's what they want. And so they can exploit us. And you know, one of the things that, and I say this because it kind of brings it home, is that when you can think of our country as being the richest country in the world, the United States of America. The richest, most powerful country in the world. And yet we do not have universal health care. We don't have it. We don't have universal college education. You know, countries in Europe have it. Countries in Latin America have it. Even Cuba, little teeny Cuba, that has an economic boycott by the United States, they have free health care, free college education for every person in Cuba. If you want to be a doctor, you can go to Cuba and become a doctor. Free, all right? Free. So these are the things that we say we have to change. And the reason we don't have this is because in the United States of America, 10% of the wealthy families and the corporations have 90% of the wealth.
That's exactly right.
Think about that.
Yep.
Wealthy corporations and wealthy families have 90% of the wealth. This is wrong, and we've got to change that. And I said this earlier today to the high school students, and I want to share it with you also, that in our country we have exploited our neighbors to the south. And I use the word bananas. How many bananas do we eat every single day in the United States? Do the people in Guatemala get the money that we spend for bananas?
No.
El Salvador?
No.
Honduras?
No.
The people that are coming to our borders seeking asylum, they don't receive that money. It goes to Dole Banana, Chiquita Banana, the 50 banana companies. So we've got to create a society that says, yes, we want liberty, we want democracy in the United States, but we can't also, we've got to make sure that we don't exploit other countries, that we help other countries instead of taking away from them the way that we are doing now, okay? That's what we have to do. And these people that are at the border seeking asylum, and we think of them, okay, these are immigrants. I like to say, Google a map of the United States before 1848. Google it. What will you see there?
Mexico.
A third of the United States was Mexico. 1/3 of the United States was Mexico. Can you think about that? So when they tell me as a Mexican American, go back where you came from, I say, we were here before the United States. The indigenous people of North America and South America, this is their land. This is their land. You have to think about that. And we have got to make reparations up to Native Americans for the land we took from them. And so, you know, we have to kind of rethink a lot of things about history, and this is the kind of history that we need to have taught in our schools, so that again we can get rid of the ignorance that exists and get rid of the hatred that exists. And we can make it happen. In fact, we are the only ones that can make it happen. So we have to get busy and get to work, because we're at this critical moment in the United States where things can really happen, okay? This is the moment, this is the time, and all of us can do that. And that's what we're born on this earth to make the world a better place, all of us. And we know that we can make that happen. I want to thank you all very much for having me here. And I think I've spoken a long time already. But let's enjoy the rest of the evening. Oh, there's just one disappointment that I have to say. You know, we've all been really excited about the Me Too movement about women, right? And I like, and another quote I'll just give you is that Coretta Scott King said that we will never have peace in the world until women take power. You like that? We will never have peace in the world until feminists take power, because I know that the men in this room, or they would be here right now, that they support women, okay? Okay, so first, and the one disappointment that I felt here today coming here, and you're not the only ones. There's parts of California, I was in Marin County in California, and the same thing happened there. We talk about Black Lives Matter, but we don't see any African Americans in this room. So there's something wrong with that picture, right? So I was thinking today, after being here, maybe we need an integration project also. You know, maybe we need an integration project, because I had the good fortune, I grew up in a town called Stockton, California. I don't know if anybody knows where that's at. It's by Sacramento, San Francisco. But I grew up in my neighborhood. My next door neighbors were the Smith family, a black family. My neighbors on the left side were Italian immigrants. A kitty corner from my house, they were from Greece. Across the street, they were from the Philippines, and Japanese and Chinese. And these are all the kids that I grew up with. So I like to say I got my ethnic studies from my friends. But that was such a great feeling because it made me, I think it prepared me for the world. So, we've got to change that. We've got to, it's not enough to say, I'm not a racist. We've got to be an anti-racist.
Yes.
Anti-racist. So we have to actively think, and what can we do to fight the racism that exists in our society? We've got to actively fight against it. And I think we could make it happen. There's a Zulu word that I want to share with you, and I'm asking you to shout it out. And this word that I'm going to say, it comes from Africa. And the word means the people are coming together to fight for justice. So I would like to say that the people here tonight, we're coming together to fight for justice. And the word is wozani. Can you say that? I'll say 1, 2, 3, then I'll shout the word, okay? 1, 2, 3. Wozani. Okay, yeah, we can make that happen, wozani. So let's just keep that in mind. And I hope that the next time I come here, hopefully I can get her before I leave. We'll see. A more darker complexions in the audience, okay? But we need them. Okay?
Yes.
We need them. One last chance, okay? And when you're standing, it's not just for me, okay? It's for all the people that are out there for fighting for social justice and getting ourselves ready to do the work, right? So I'm going to ask you the questions that I asked the children at Tudas Elementary School and also at the high school. And the question is a really simple one. I'm going to ask you who's got the power, and I want you to say, we've got the power. And when I say what kind of power, I want you to say people power. But I want you to shout it out really loud. So all of those folks that introduced that stupid bill against transgender people, they can hear us, all right? Let's go. Who's got the power? We got the power! What kind of power? People power! So are we going to use our people power to make sure we get good people elected to office?
Yes.
Get out there and do that work. The registered voters, the poll sites, into the campuses, to make sure we get progressives elected. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go. Can we do what we say? So what?